now. Just gonna start with the intro and then some questions to it. So welcome everyone. My name is Ekua and I'm a coach, and I coach ambitious women globally with particular interest in expat American women living in London. My forthcoming book, Be Your Number One Cheerleader, is coming out at the end of September, and that book is about using some of my own entrepreneurial stories to talk about coaching issues such as building resilience, confidence, and fighting fear. So without further ado, I would love to introduce Waynette and ask her a couple of questions about her background and experience, and let her really give us those confidence boosting tips which we're all here for today. So Waynette, the first question I'd love to ask you is, we really want to hear about your 5-minute pitch. Tell us a bit about your background, in terms of your international background, what you do and why you do it.
Okay. So as far as where I'm from, I'm originally from Bermuda. I'm living in Manchester at the moment. I started out as a corporate lawyer, and when I moved over here, I started my own company and worked for myself in law firms in Bermuda remotely as a consultant. I've worked in-house, I've worked in the private sector, I've worked in the public sector for regulators and whatnot. So I have a range of experience in that sense. But as much as I loved law, it wasn't fulfilling for me. So I did some soul searching over a number of years, really, and came to the point where I realized I had this natural sort of magnet for people for coaching. People would come to me and ask me for advice and guidance and different things. And so it was a natural fit. And then it was just about figuring out, what type of coaching did I want to do and so forth. And, with my experience in the corporate world, in law and in other parts of the corporate world, I really connected with leadership. And so that's what I do. I am a mindset coach for women in leadership, and just helping them strengthen that leadership by improving and strengthening their mindset, because if you improve the person, you'll improve the leadership, right? And just because, leadership is really an important thing. I think that a lot of people have different expectations or don't even really know what it is to be a leader. They know what it is to be an expert, to be a specialist and whatnot, but when that expertise gets them to leadership, they're a little bit lost. And so we need to work on that mindset and make that switch. And yeah.
Awesome. Wow, that is a great summary. And also, I believe, did you say you started your coaching practice at the beginning of lockdown, or?
Oh, yes. Yes, I started literally about a month after I had my baby, and lockdown was like, lockdown was still fresh. And yeah, I couldn't have planned it better myself, but I have to say, having the right mindset has allowed me to get through it and still persevere and be here today and moving forward and gaining momentum. And so really it's just a testament that it doesn't really matter what the circumstances are, you can always pull through and you can always just make it better for yourself. So yeah.
Absolutely. And now we just want to explore a little bit about your corporate background. As you said, you're a former lawyer. And obviously, everyone wants to know, as a Black woman, what was it like trying to climb the corporate ladder? And what are the challenges that you sort of overcame?
A Black woman in a male-dominated industry, lots I can say. Honestly, I would say the things I had to overcome quickly. And that was get a tough skin, right? Gain that true confidence, because there's one thing where you think you have confidence in school because you're a high achiever, you got good grades, you're on top of your game, you think you know everything, and you come out there and it's just like, huh? And so in that corporate world too, they are not afraid to sort of just put you on the spot and show you that you really don't know, You really don't know. And so it was getting that tough skin to be able to take the feedback and take the hits and still get up and go and be strong and perform well. Also, not allowing the stories to develop and run away from me. So the stories that we tell ourselves, like going into it knowing, I'm a minority, I'm a Black woman in a man's world, it's gonna be tough and whatnot, and allowing those stories to sort of psych me out, right? Being ready and intentional to counteract that and not let that be my focus and just focus on what it is that I wanted. And that all I'm saying in hindsight, because as I was going through it, it was tough and I was not thinking that way at all. And so yeah, that really, looking back on it, was probably the beginning of me starting to recognize the importance of having a healthy mindset, really.
Ah, amazing. And I just want to pick up something that you said, which I think a lot of people would be keen to hear your perspective on, and that is being able to listen to feedback that is constructive to help you to survive in the corporate world, but also to help you to open your mind to develop yourself. So take it away.
So yeah, it was, for me, I didn't take that feedback very well at that time. And it was a downward spiral. And it snowballed into a big thing. Something that was small snowballed into a big thing. And before you know it, I was miserable. I was like crying. I was pretending. I was just losing myself very quickly. And it showed because every morning as I came into work, I would feel like palpitations and get anxiety and just was completely unhappy, right? And then something just switched. I guess I saw myself and I was just like, this isn't the life I want. This isn't what, it should be like. And so I just made a decision to change the way that I look at things, to do what I could in my control, because I can't control what's going on around me, but I can control how I react to it. And really that's what it comes down to, is like your reaction to things and how you manage the things that come your way, the feedback that comes your way, and not taking anything personal, and really just sitting back and reflecting and saying, okay, what is the great part of this feedback? How can I allow this to improve me? How can I allow this to strengthen me rather than hurt me? And hurt being not just hurt me career-wise, but emotionally, And I think that really is the more important thing, is protecting yourself in that way, emotionally and mentally. Because if you're postured and positioned strongly and correctly, mentally and emotionally, then the rest of it just falls into place.
Absolutely. And let's pick up on the point of emotional intelligence. What do you think as women we should think about in trying to build up our toolkit on being more aware of our emotions and our emotional triggers?
Yeah, so the thing is with that is often women get a bad reputation for being emotional people, right? And a lot of times, especially in the corporate world, you hear things like, oh, well, she's being emotional, or if a woman's being passionate about something, it's like, it's always misconstrued. And you can't control so much what other people think, but you can control what you think about it and how it affects you. And so it's about recognizing that your emotions aren't a bad thing, right? Feel what you're gonna feel because you feel it, and you're feeling it for a reason, and it's trying to get your attention about something. And so if I'm receiving feedback, for instance, and I'm feeling defensive about it, it's like, okay, let me take a step back and realize, why am I feeling defensive? Really doing that honest soul search within ourselves to understand ourselves, to get to know ourselves, because as much as we think that we do know ourselves, we don't know ourselves that well. A lot of things happen at that unconscious level, and so it's about digging that up and using that to grow from it. we spend a lifetime getting to know that emotion and learning from it and understanding it and learning how to leverage it to grow from that, right? Processing it. Don't compartmentalize. That was something I was guilty of, was compartmentalizing and pushing through, and that doesn't work. You need to allow it to process and then move forward in that clear space after you've processed it, right?
Wow, Waynette, that is super awesome and super useful. I think a lot of people can learn from that insight. So moving on, but staying in the same area about career, how do you think that women can find a career champion or mentor? And how would you suggest that they approach someone either within the workplace or outside of that?
Yeah. So it's always best when that sort of relationship happens organically, but of course that doesn't always happen that way. And so I would say take note of someone that you admire, someone who is doing what it is that you aspire to do, and reach out to them, take them out for lunch, ask them, if they have some time for you to just go to lunch. If they don't have that kind of time, then buy them a coffee, go to their office and say, listen, I was thinking of you, I have a coffee for you, could I just have a few minutes of your time to pick your brain, right? And then nurture that relationship. Keep reaching out, after you've had that conversation, tell them how you implemented what it is that they told you, how you learned from it and how it impacted you. Send them an email if you can't always meet with them face to face. Give them a call, follow up with them, let them know what's going on, because it will start to develop into something organic. And then that mentorship will come, whether or not they realize that you're trying to pull them into that, it will happen. Yeah.
Oh, amazing. Amazing. And I'm sure that a lot of women here are leaders and they want to think about their leadership skills. So I'd love to ask you, what do you think, in your view, helps women to have a particular performance edge, and what skills should they be wanting to develop and practice?
So I think what gives women that performance edge is true influence. And I think that works for any leader, really. And I think that's probably the real essence and point of leadership, is to have that influence. It's not so much about your expertise anymore. Yes, that's what got you there. Yes, obviously you still need to have that know-how, but it's less know-how because you're not hands-on as much, or at least you shouldn't be. You should be more focused on investing in your people, grooming them and developing them and helping them to become the expert that you are. And by doing that, you do that through developing relationships. And in developing relationships, you provide impact. And in provide an impact, you gain influence and respect. So much so that when you speak, people listen and hear you in a way that they wouldn't hear you could say the exact same thing that someone else said and they would hear it completely different because it's coming from you, because their respect and love for you is different because you have that influence over them. And so I think it's less about the hard skills and more about the soft skills.
Oh, brilliant. And I just want to keep on with that theme. So if we're a female manager and leader, how is it that we can, use our emotional intelligence and leadership skills to lead teams well and understand people's different emotional makeup to help them to be the best that they can be? Can you give some tips around that, perhaps?
Yeah, so start with, again, getting to know your team. Take a genuine interest in each of them as individuals, right? Have a vision and unite the team with that vision, and use that influence, use those relationships to build that cohesiveness, to build that collegiate spirit, if you will, in and amongst them as a team, individually, through that vision. That's what I would say.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And do you think that there's anything that leaders can do, even though we're in a time of lots of uncertainty and change, a lot of people working remotely? How can leaders keep their teams together and try and check in and recognize if people do need some more emotional support because of whatever's happening with them and this particular time that we're in?
Yeah, just stay in touch, stay connected. You know, there's so many ways through technology now, right? Where you can connect with people either individually or as a group with Zoom. You can like have everyone in, right? Or you can connect with them individually. And if you're having your team meetings and you sense someone in the group needs a little bit more guidance or a little bit more direction, or maybe they're not quite tuned in, or you're just picking up on something. Maybe they seem a little bit off and not their self that day, then when you get off of that team meeting, don't necessarily just run to the next task. If you absolutely have to, if you have back-to-back meetings, okay, fine, write a note to yourself and just say, okay, follow up with so-and-so later on. And if you do have that time, then reach out to them, give them a quick message or a quick ring and say, listen, I just want to have a chat with you and see what's up, catch up with you. How's in half an hour, you know, just for 15 minutes and just check in. When you take genuine interest in people, like how I said earlier, then those sorts of things naturally work themselves out. You find yourself naturally doing it because you have that genuine interest, right? And that's why it starts with that, because the rest really just, the trees and the leaves and grow from that. So really just have that genuine interest. And when you see things like that, someone who needs a little bit more coaching, someone who needs a little bit more direction, someone that needs some, you know, guidance and cuddling, then just make the time to do it.
Amazing, amazing. And something that I think that a lot of women would be interested to hear your perspective on, and especially in these times, is how can they be confident to shout about the things that they're brilliant at and the things that they want people to know that they have done, especially working remotely? Any tips or ideas?
Yeah, okay. So, in working remotely, yes, that can be quite difficult. But again, if we have technology and different ways of doing things, right? And so most times, at least I know for me, I had quite a number of my colleagues on my personal social media things and whatnot. And if I had a win at work, then I might just say something without obviously revealing anything that I can't reveal. Just be like, you know, today was amazing, XYZ happened, you know, and sort of toot my own horn, like, yeah, like on cloud nine today, or, you know, killing it today, or whatever, you know, hashtag whatever. And just do that, because when your friends and people see you doing that, then, you know, that encourages yourself and it encourages them, and you know, it's putting it out there. And let's be honest, work does look at your personal social media things. So it's not to say that people at work aren't paying attention, because they are. And then even like in your team meetings and whatnot, the leaders actually can give the team members that they are developing to become leaders an opportunity to showcase themselves in that way, by saying, okay, what's everyone doing? What's everyone working on? You know, what's been happening, giving everyone that chance to share their celebrations and things that they're doing and things that are going on. And it also has other benefits to doing that as well, right? And then for you personally, just being willing to share that and being proud of it. But just be proud of what you've done for yourself. And I mean, why should you hide that? Why should you feel any way about sharing that with people? It's not an arrogance thing, it's a celebration thing. Like, yeah, I worked hard and this is what I done, you know, and just owning it. Just own it. You don't need to be humble.
Yes, we need to be shouting to our own horn sometimes, because I feel like a lot of women feel afraid that, you know, unless it is 100%, they should not be shouting. But if it's 90% and 99%, why not? Absolutely. We need to be telling people, reinforcing the message that we are great at what we do. And the only way that we can do it is to speak it, to share it, and to own it. So fantastic, fantastic, Waynette. So that leads us neatly into the question of the hour, which is about confidence boosting. So we'd really love to get a confidence boosting tip from you, Waynette. What's a confidence tip that you would advise us to either practice or one that you do yourself?
So I would say get comfortable being uncomfortable and then decide to be bold. Because confidence is about sort of feeling the fear and doing it anyway, right? And the more you step out, the more, if you just decide, okay, listen, I am terrified, I'm not too sure about myself, but I have a dream, I have a goal, I have a vision, I have things that I want to achieve. I want better for myself. I want that promotion. I want that pay rise. So, okay, in order for me to do that, I need to just step out and be me and be bold. And so you decide to be bold, you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Even though you're feeling uncomfortable, you're still walking, you're still moving forward, you're still stepping out and doing things. And the more you do it, the farther you go, each step that you take, you're building that confidence, right? You're telling your unconscious mind that you believe in yourself. Every time you make that step, even though you feel uncomfortable, even though you're afraid, you are telling your unconscious mind, I believe in myself, regardless of how you're trying to make me feel. I'm choosing to do different. I'm choosing to feel different. And then you'll see that starting to build. And it'll start believing you because you're walking it.
Yeah, so let's continue on that theme, Waynette. So in that discomfort, how do you suggest or give us like a tip to how we can embrace that discomfort, to know that it's positive for us, to feel the positive action and desires that we have?
So one of the things I like to do is visualize what it is and who it is that I want for myself. What is my vision for myself? Where is it that I want to be? Let's say, for instance, successful CEO woman, right? How does she feel? How would she act? You know, and connecting to that, visualizing that, seeing myself in the clothes, seeing myself in the car, in the office, in the house, decorated the way that I would have it decorated, all the feel-good things, right? And imagining how I would feel looking at myself in the mirror that day, realizing you made it, you're here, like you worked hard, and connecting to that emotionally, taking time to just see that in my mind's eye, feeling it, you know, and saying, okay, that's who I am because that's what I see and that's what I'm going to be. And so now I'm going to go out and do it and just be her. Because I'm connected to it, I can like now just step into that body and be it and do it.
Wow. So Waynette, let me just pick on that one final bit before we wrap up. So you might think that in your mind, well, it feels a bit awkward to try and visualize, you know, where I want to be, and you know, I'm uncomfortable with seeing my own success. I can't even accept it. So how might we like urge ourselves to, you know, be comfortable with celebrating our success, wanting to be in a successful mindset, emotional state, and really being like, it's okay for me to take that leap?
Yeah, honestly, that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? And more often than not, and you'd really be surprised how many people struggle with that. Basically, it does take exercising your mindset and starting to change that muscle, starting to change that internal representation of your beliefs in that way. Right? What is it that you truly believe about yourself? What are your true values? And what is it that you really want? And if that's what you really want, then why are you uncomfortable with that? Challenge yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and challenge yourself. Why am I uncomfortable with that? And explore that and work on unearthing the real reasons that are going on there. Because honestly, if you have goals and aspirations and you're uncomfortable with the idea of being successful, then there's something else going on. There's something else going on, and it's not a bad thing. It's just, again, things at that unconscious level from the different stories and beliefs that we've allowed to run around in our mind and convince us that, you know, of things that aren't true, you know, and we keep ruminating on it and keep validating it. And so it keeps showing itself to us. And so we think that it is true. We think that it is right, and it's not. And so it's about just making that decision to switch and say, okay, you know what? Being so uncomfortable that I'm immobilized, being so uncomfortable that I don't step out, being so uncomfortable that I'm holding myself back isn't working for me and isn't going to get what it is that I want. So I have to just decide to do something different, because what I'm doing isn't working. And it starts from there, and the journey begins.
Oh, amazing. So we've had a really interesting question from the audience, which I'm going to put to you, Waynette, and that is, what do you do when you have a bad day to keep yourself confident and ignoring the doubts and the fears and the negative thoughts you may have?
Yeah, I have had many a time, many a time. And I'm going to sort of pull on some things that I've already said, which is give myself the space in the room to feel what I'm feeling, and being honest with myself about what it is that I'm feeling. Because when you're doing that, you're giving it space, that energy to be released, that negative energy to be released, right? And then once you've released it, there's always a clarity that comes. The fog, so to speak, can lift, and now you can see and understand and garnish the learnings from it, because there's always something to learn from it, right? And so once I always find that once I start learning, once I start switching that gear after I process to start intentionally looking for, okay, what was this about? Then that learning starts to inspire me again. It starts to give me that courage and that inspiration and reminding me of everything that I already know to be true. Everything that I was believing and reinforcing to myself and in my mind while I was on top starts to come back, right? And so, yeah, it's really just about giving yourself that space, being honest with yourself, giving yourself that space to feel what you're feeling, and being intentional about looking for what is great about this bad day, what is great about this thing that happened, this gray cloud, yeah, and just spin it.
Fantastic. I mean, I think that is tough, and it takes time to work up to that. But I think one of the great things that you have said there is that we need to embrace that negative emotion, and we need to work through it. And in working through that, it's not just knowing that you feel it, it's actually doing something with that feeling. So whether it's running, singing, dancing, whatever, but do something to help it move through you, and then get to that place where you are able to, as Waynette really helpfully says, to be like, I don't want to be in this place no more. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to take an action. I'm going to remind myself it's what is great about Waynette and everyone else who's on the call today, and lean into that. So
yeah,
that
absolutely. Whether it's journaling, talking to someone, running, like you said, exercise, whatever it is, sometimes I just turn on some music that makes me happy and dance it out. Like, you know, whatever works for you.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's got their own go-to thing that helps them to, you know, get back into the zone, whether it's humor, whether it's physical activity, or whatever creative expression that they have. Use that to work through that negative emotion, and then move on to the ideas and the inspiration that Waynette has given us. So we're just going to wrap up today and say thank you so much, Waynette, for being on the call. Please let us know how we can keep in touch with you.
So I'm on LinkedIn, I'm on Facebook, and Instagram. Instagram and Facebook is the same. If you just put in Waynette, Michelle, Denise, then you'll find me. And then on